The sound of breaking bones. The wind was warm that afternoon, but something in the air didn't feel right. In a small town outside Los Angeles, a girl named Emily skipped down the sidewalk, with her pink backpack bouncing behind her. She was only 8, full of life, with a wild laugh and 2 missing front teeth. Her mom had just picked her up from school and was talking to a neighbor across the street. Emily was told to wait by the corner near the bakery. She obeyed. She always did. A black and chrome motorcycle screeched loudly a few blocks away. It wasn't the kind of roar people ignored. Heads turned, some kids covered their ears, and at that same moment, Emily looked up from the puppy she was waving to behind the window and stepped an inch too far onto the road. The biker didn't slow down. He didn't even try. What happened next would become the beginning of something no one could have predicted. There was a horrible crunch like dry wood snapping. A scream followed. It wasn't Emily's mom. It wasn't anyone close. It was Keanu Reeves. Keanu wasn't supposed to be there. He had taken a wrong turn after visiting a friend's set downtown. He wanted coffee. His GPS glitched and led him to this quiet neighborhood. He was walking toward a bakery with ivy-covered walls when he saw the motorcycle. It was speeding toward the intersection like it didn't care about stop signs. Then he saw her, the little girl, standing too close to the edge. He dropped his coffee. Time slowed. He shouted her name, though he didn't even know it. Hey, but the roar of the engine drowned it out. Emily was hit hard. Her small body flew and tumbled onto the sidewalk. The biker didn't stop. He turned his head for a second, saw her lying there, then throttled harder and disappeared down Elm Street. Keanu was already running. He knelt beside her. Stay with me, he whispered, voice shaking. She whimpered, her tiny arm bent the wrong way. Blood ran down her elbow and soaked into her sleeve. Her mother dropped the groceries and ran over, letting out a cry that pierced the whole street. Keanu gently picked the girl up as the mother called 911. The moment felt unreal. People were frozen. One man was recording. Another was already posting the video online. In the hospital waiting room, Keanu sat beside Emily's mother, Carla. Her hands were shaking. He noticed how she kept looking at the entrance, like waiting for someone else to come fix it all. I'm sorry I couldn't stop it, he said quietly. She didn't speak for a moment. Then her eyes filled with tears. You were the only one who ran. Keanu looked down at his hands. They were still trembling, not from fear, but from helplessness. What kind of man does that? Carla whispered. Hits a child and just leaves. Keanu didn't answer. He didn't have to. His face said everything. A few hours later, a man walked into the hospital with a black hoodie and sunglasses. People turned. Nurses smiled. A child asked for a photo. It was Dwayne Johnson, better known as The Rock. Keanu stood up in surprise. What are you doing here? I saw the video, The Rock said. You okay? Keanu shook his head. It's not about me. The kid, she's in surgery. The Rock's jaw tightened. And the guy who hit her vanished, Keanu muttered, but not for long. 2 days passed. Emily had pins in her arm and bandages from shoulder to wrist. She was brave. She smiled through the pain, even made a joke about how she was now part robot. Keanu visited every day. He brought coloring books and told stories. She liked his voice, even when he read cereal box ingredients just to make her laugh. But deep inside, something was burning in him. The biker hadn't just hurt a child, he broke something sacred. He crossed a line. And Keanu wasn't the only one who felt that. Meanwhile, the video of the accident had gone viral. It wasn't just the crash, it was the moment Keanu Reeves cradled the child in his arms like she was his own. Millions watched it. Millions cried. And some got angry. Including a biker club in Nevada called Iron Veins. They weren't criminals. They were veterans, mechanics, and fathers, and they had their own rules. When they saw the license plate number in the blurry footage, they called the one man who might actually care enough to do something, The Rock. 3 days after the accident, Keanu and The Rock met again, this time at a quiet garage on the outskirts of town. The garage belonged to Leo, a former Marine and leader of the Iron Veins. The men stood around a table with a laptop playing the slowed-down video. Leo paused the screen. This is your guy, plate's fake, but the bike isn't. That's custom. I know who built it." Keanu leaned forward. "Who? His name's Rex. Goes by Rex Blaze. Arrogant. Rides dirty. Banned from for states. Last seen in Arizona, showing off at a dessert bar." The Rock crossed his arms. "Then we go get him." Leo nodded. "You don't go in loud. You go in smart." Keanu's eyes narrowed. "And if he runs?" The Rock's voice dropped low. "Then he runs into me." The next morning, before they left, Keanu stopped by the hospital one more time. Emily was awake, holding a small stuffed bear. "Are you going to catch the bad man?" she asked softly. Keanu sat beside her and smiled. "Yes. What if he's big? Then I'll be braver." "Will you tell him he's not nice?" Keanu nodded. "I will." She gave him a shy hug with her good arm and whispered, "I think you're a hero." Keanu held back tears. He had been in action movies. He had played warriors, assassins, legends. But none of it mattered now, because in that small room, with that small girl, he was just a man trying to right a terrible wrong, and he wasn't alone anymore. As the sun set over the highway, two bikes roared into the desert, one ridden by Keanu Reeves, the other by the Rock. Both wore helmets, both silent. Ahead of them was heat dust, and the man who thought he could disappear after breaking a child's arm. But he didn't know who was coming, and he didn't know what they were willing to do to make things right. Into the desert road stretched like a snake through the desert, its body made of sunburned asphalt and silence. Every mile took Keanu and the Rock deeper into nowhere and closer to the man they were hunting. They weren't just riding for revenge. They were riding for justice, and for the little girl lying in a hospital bed with a broken arm and the bravest smile either of them had ever seen. Keanu adjusted his helmet and glanced at the Rock, who nodded back. No words, just shared purpose. The sun dipped behind jagged hills. Heat shimmered off the sand. They weren't far now. They stopped at a bar called the Iron Claw on the edge of Arizona. The place smelled like old leather and dust. Bikers leaned against their machines outside, watching them arrive. Most people would have looked twice at the tall, silent man in all black and the mountain-sized figure beside him. But no one said a word. Not yet. Keanu walked in first. Inside, a jukebox played low music. Pool balls clicked in the back. A waitress chewed gum behind the bar. Eyes turned as the two men stepped in. "You seen him?" The Rock asked the bartender without pretense. The man behind the bar looked nervous. "You'll have to be more specific." Keanu pulled out his phone and showed a blurry screenshot from the video, the back of a black leather jacket with a white flame symbol. "This guy. His name's Rex." The bartender's lips tightened. "He comes and goes. Drinks heavy. 'Cause his trouble. Hasn't been around in 2 days." Keanu's voice dropped. "Where does he stay?" A beat passed. Someone in the corner scoffed. A man with tattoos on his face stood up slowly. "Who's asking?" The Rock turned his head. "We are." The man smirked. "You don't look like cops." "We're not," Keanu said. "So why you care where Rex is?" Keanu's eyes burned cold. "Because he broke a little girl's arm and left her in the street like trash." The bar went silent. The tattooed man laughed, but it was a nervous one. "You gonna cry about it?" The Rock took a slow step forward. "You got kids?" The man paused. "Because if someone did that to your daughter," The Rock said, voice sharp like broken glass, "you'd want the world to care." The man didn't speak again. He sat back down. The bartender looked away, then said, "There's an old auto shop 5 miles east. Rex crashes there when he's hiding from people." "You didn't hear that from me." Keanu nodded. "Thank you." As they turned to leave, someone whispered, "Good luck." They didn't need luck. They needed answers. The auto shop looked abandoned from the road, metal walls, a sagging roof, and a gate barely hanging by its hinges. But when they circled around the back, they saw a tire still warm from recent use. Oil spots led to a motorcycle hidden behind a tarp. They dismounted and moved quietly. Keanu crouched by the side door. It was locked. He looked at The Rock. The Rock nodded once, stepped forward, and slammed his shoulder into the metal. The door flew open. Inside, the room smelled like gasoline, beer, and something rotten. A mattress lay on the floor, surrounded by crushed cans. A black leather jacket hung on a nail-white flames across the back. They found a drawer full of burner phones, a switchblade, and a photo of Rex with two other bikers, both flipping off the camera. But Rex wasn't there. Keanu clenched his jaw. He knows we're coming. The Rock picked up a scrap of paper on the floor. It was a receipt from a truck stop diner. From just this morning. We're close, he said. Real close. They reached the diner by noon. Inside, an old woman named Trish ran the counter. She smiled when the two men came in, like she'd seen everything and nothing surprised her anymore. Coffee? She asked. We're looking for someone, Keanu said, showing the same image. Trish frowned. He was here. Loud, disrespectful. Made fun of the busboy who stutters. Left without paying. The Rock glanced toward the kitchen. The busboy, a teenage boy with downcast eyes, was wiping trays in silence. Keanu walked over. Hey, he said gently. You okay? The boy looked up. Aye, it's fine. It's not fine, Keanu said. You didn't deserve that. The boy nodded slowly. His eyes filled with tears. He was trying hard not to show. The Rock leaned on the counter. Do you remember where he went? The boy pointed out the window. He said something about Grindstone Canyon. He had bags. Trish whispered. That's trouble. Canyon's full of dropouts and bikers who got kicked from every gang in the West. No rules. No respect. Keanu looked out at the open road. Then we'll make our own rules. Grindstone Canyon was dry, sharp, and cruel. It looked like a place the sun had forgotten to forgive. Abandoned cars rusted in silence. A few makeshift tents clung to the rocks, like lost memories. As they rode in, a group of bikers blocked the narrow path. 6 men. One of them wore the flame jacket. Rex. He stepped forward, grinning. Well, look who came to play. Keanu stepped off his bike. You ran from a child you almost killed. Rex rolled his eyes. Wasn't my fault she was in the road. You didn't stop. Why should I? He laughed. What's one more broken brat? Silence. Then, the Rock stepped forward. You want to fight? Rex spat on the ground. You want to die? What happened next was fast and brutal. One of Rex's men swung at Keanu. Keanu ducked, grabbed the man's wrist, twisted, and sent him face first into the dirt. Another came with a chain. He got clothes lined by the Rock like he'd hit a wall of steel. Rex tried to run, but Keanu was faster. He tackled him by the waist, slammed him down, and pinned him. Rex screamed, Get off me. Keanu didn't flinch. You're going to jail, like hell I am. Keanu pulled out a phone. The cops are already on their way. Someone at the diner called. Sirens echoed in the distance. The Rock stood over the other bikers, who were moaning and groaning on the ground. None dared move. Rex struggled, but Keanu tightened his grip. You think no one cares. You think you can hurt people and ride away. But not this time. When the cops arrived, Keanu handed Rex over with a quiet, He's all yours. Back in the hospital, Emily was drawing a picture. It showed a man with long hair and another with big muscles standing next to a little girl with a cast. When Keanu walked in, she smiled. Did you find him? Yes, he said. Did he say sorry? Keanu paused. No. But just as said it for him, Emily reached for his hand. You're still my hero. He looked at her and smiled softly. No, kid. You're the real hero. You smiled through it all. You never gave up. As the sun set outside the window, Keanu sat beside her. The Rock arrived minutes later with a milkshake and a grin. She needs extra ice cream, he said. Doctor's orders. Emily laughed. And, for the first time since that horrible day, the world felt right again. Asterisk whispers from the hospital bed. 2 weeks passed since Rex was arrested. But something didn't sit right. KeanuReeves sat outside the hospital garden while Emily played with clay in her room. Her cast was now covered with doodles and signatures. The doctors said she was healing well, but Keanu's mind wasn't resting. There was something about the way Rex smiled when he was arrested. Like he knew something. Like he wasn't scared. That smile haunted Keanu at night. You think he's working alone? The Rock asked as he joined him on the bench with 2 coffees. I don't know, Keanu replied. But a man like that, he's part of something. The Rock nodded slowly. I've seen that look before. In the ring, it's not fear, it's confidence. like he's waiting for someone else to show up. Keanu sipped the bitter coffee. Then we better find out who. Later that evening, a nurse named Dahlia came to Emily's room to check her vitals. She was kind, soft-spoken, and always brought little heart stickers for Emily's fingers. But today, her hands were shaking. Keanu noticed immediately something wrong. He asked. She hesitated, then leaned closer. You should know. Someone called the hospital this morning, asking for Emily, who they didn't say their name. But the way they asked, it didn't feel right. Keanu stood. Did you report it? She nodded. We told the front desk, but there's no trace on the system. It was a burner phone. Keanu's mind raced. Did anyone unusual come by? Dahlia bit her lip. Just a man in a delivery outfit. Said he was dropping off flowers, but we never got any flowers. Keanu's hands curled into fists. The Rock entered the room moments later. Keanu pulled him aside. She's still not safe, Keanu said. The Rock's jaw tightened. Then we lock it down. They moved Emily to a private floor. Only trusted staff knew. Two guards were stationed near the elevator. Security cameras were installed that evening. Keanu and The Rock took turns sleeping in the chair beside her bed. Emily didn't fully understand, but she sensed something had changed. She asked fewer questions. She held Keanu's hand longer. Then, one night, just after midnight, Emily whispered something. Keanu leaned in. What is it? He said he'll come back. She mumbled. Keanu froze. Who? The man on the bike. He whispered it. When I was on the ground. He leaned down and said, this ain't over. Her small voice trembled. Keanu felt something cold move through his chest. You're safe now, he said. But he didn't believe it. The next morning, The Rock made some calls. He had friends in the justice system, friends in private security. He had connections that moved faster than the police. What he found shook both of them. Rex wasn't in prison anymore. The night before, a decoy ambulance intercepted the transport van. Masked men, armed and fast, broke Rex out before he reached county jail. 3 officers were injured. One was still missing. Keanu stared at the news report in silence. The Rock threw his phone across the room. How the hell did this happen? He was never scared, Keanu whispered, because he knew he wasn't going to stay in custody. They both turned toward Emily's room. Then they moved fast. Emily was gone. They sprinted down the hallway. The nurse on duty was on the floor, unconscious. The guards outside the elevator were missing. Blood stained the wall near the emergency stairwell. Keanu single quotes, "S heart sank." Then a scream echoed from the roof. They charged up the stairs. To buy 2, no hesitation. On the rooftop, 3 bikers stood with masks, cornering Emily near the HELIPAD. Rex stood in the center, holding a crowbar. Told you this wasn't over, he sneered. Keanu stepped forward. You hurt her again, and you won't walk away this time. Don't need to walk, Rex said. I've got a chopper coming, and this little brat's my ticket out. Emily cried but didn't scream. She looked straight at Keanu. He nodded slowly. Close your eyes. She did. Then chaos. Keanu ran left, distracting the bikers. The Rock came from behind, tackling the third into a steel rail. FISTS flew. One biker swung a chain, missing by inches. Keanu blocked a punch, countered with a kick, and sent the man staggering. Rex lunged for Emily, crowbar raised, but before he could reach her, Keanu dove and wrapped his arms around both of them. Rolling away from the edge, The Rock grabbed Rex, slammed him to the ground, and pinned him. Sirens blared in the distance. A second later, a helicopter's spotlight lit up the rooftop. You're done, Keanu said. Rex groaned. You don't get it. This wasn't just me. This was never just me. Keanu stared down at him. Then tell your friends. Next time they hurt a child, they won't make it to the rooftop. The hospital issued a full apology. Emily was moved, again this time to a secure children's center across the city, guarded by police and private agents. Keanu stayed by her side. So did The Rock. They told her stories to help her sleep. They brought her art supplies and books and little bracelets. But more than anything, they brought her safety. One night, when the nurses thought she was asleep, Emily whispered something into the quiet room. I wasn't afraid. Keanu sat up. What did you say when he came back? She said. still drowsy. I wasn't afraid. Because I knew you'd come. Keanu's throat tightened. You always come, she smiled. You and the strong guy, that's The Rock. Keanu whispered. I like him, she said. Me too. She fell asleep, and outside her window, lights of the city glowed like stars watching, waiting. But no shadow dared come near, because this time, the guardians were ready. Wolves in Leatherth news broke the next morning. Criminal biker gang orchestrates rooftop abduction attempt. Keanu Reeves and The Rock save child in dramatic rescue. The world watched. Millions shared the video of the rooftop fight. Hashtags exploded. People called Keanu and The Rock heroes. But while the internet celebrated, the real fight had just begun. Because buried in the details of Rex's arrest was something even more dangerous. A symbol on one of the bikers' jackets that didn't match Rex's gang. A mark of something older. Something worse. Keanu stared at the photo printed from security footage, faded, grainy, but clear enough. A circle of knives, stitched in red thread. He had seen it before. Not in movies, not in tabloids, in real life, years ago. A symbol passed between old outlaws and underground fighters, whispered about in silence. The Red Fang, Keanu said aloud. The Rock looked up from his phone. What's that? It's not a biker gang, Keanu said. It's a network. Men for hire, ex-military, ex-cartel. They work in shadows, and they don't make mistakes. The Rock sat forward. Why were they with Rex? Maybe he owed them, maybe he worked for them, or maybe they wanted the girl for something else. A long pause filled the room. We need to find out, Keanu said. The Rock nodded. Then we don't stop. They left Emily in the care of two trusted veterans, the same men who once guarded Hollywood's biggest stars. She was safe, but they needed to find the Red Fang before safety became a lie again. Their first stop was back in Grindstone Canyon. Not for Rex, but for the man who never fought back, the biker with scars across his face and eyes too quiet during the rooftop brawl. His name was Bruno, and Bruno talked when The Rock lifted him with one arm and dangled him over a ledge. Okay, he shouted. Rex wasn't running the show, he was small time. The Red Fang paid him to create noise. They wanted him to draw attention, to cause chaos. Why? Keanu demanded. Because someone in the hospital, Bruno said, voice trembling, was their real target. Keanu froze. You mean Emily? The Rock asked. Bruno shook his head. No, someone else. A woman, old, under a false name. She's in the same hospital, same floor. Back in the city, Keanu made calls. He knew people in medical records, old friends from before the fame, before the spotlight. He found her name, Rosa Elkins, registered under a false ID, but real identity, former Federal Intelligence agent. Retired, off the grid, but tracked by someone dangerous enough to send killers masked as bikers. They used the girl as bait, Keanu said, heart sinking, to get to Rosa. The Rock finished. They looked at each other. No more guessing. They had to act. Rosa's room was quiet. Flowers lined the window. She looked like someone's grandmother. Gentle eyes, white hair, a book in her lap. But when Keanu stepped in, her eyes sharpened like blades. Who sent you? She asked. No one, he said. I'm here to protect you. Too late, she said. They're already in the building. The Rock entered behind him, closing the door. Why are they after you? Keanu asked. Because I didn't keep my mouth shut, Rosa said. I saw what they did years ago in the Middle East. They thought I died in that ambush, but I lived, and I kept records, and now they want you gone. The Rock said. They want the records first, she whispered, but they're not getting either. Then the power went out. The hallway darkened. Keanu moved fast, locking the door. The Rock turned the hospital bed sideways, blocking the window. They heard movement outside, footsteps, fast and sharp. This wasn't a random gang. This was a hit squad. Two men in black tactical gear broke through the hallway door. Keanu lunged forward, taking the first man down with a tray stand to the throat. The second fired. A silencer glass shattered. The Rock tackled him into the supply cabinet, knocking over shelves. Rosa didn't scream. She rolled under the bed, pulling a small metal box from underneath. They're not done, she said. They're or more. 3 more came in seconds later. It was chaos. Keanu ducked, disarmed one man, and swung his elbow into the attacker's ribs. The Rock threw a kick so hard it broke the doorframe. Alarms began to blare. Emergency lockdown triggered. The Red Fang was fast, but they hadn't counted on Keanu and the Rock fighting like a storm. Within 5 minutes, the hall was silent again. 5 bodies. No more movement. Then Rosa stood up, calm as ever. "You too," she said. "Might just be the best mistake I've made." Security footage confirmed it. The Red Fang had used the previous attack on Emily to set the stage, to make it look like random biker violence. No one would question it. But now they'd failed. Keanu walked back to Emily's room, heart still pounding. She was safe, still drawing, still humming. "Did you get the bad guys again?" she asked. "Some of them," he said, smiling. She looked up, but not all of them. Keanu shook his head. "Not yet." "You will," she said. And he believed her. Meanwhile, in a dark room far away from the hospital, a man watched grainy footage on a screen. He was clean-shaven, gray suit, calm eyes. "They're getting too close," he said. Someone beside him asked, "What do we do?" He turned slowly. "We send a message." Back at the hospital, Keanu sat near Emily's bed. The Rock entered with news. "Rosa's gone," he said. "Gone?" Keanu stood. "Disappeared. No cameras, no trace. The veterans guarding her were knocked out cold. No injuries. But she's missing." Keanu's eyes narrowed. "They didn't kill her," The Rock said. "They took her, and we're next." Keanu whispered. He looked down at Emily, who was drawing a picture of a lion with wings. And for the first time in days, fear crept into his bones. Because now, it wasn't just about saving someone. It was about stopping something bigger. Something that had just begun. A message in Flamesthi. Smoke started around midnight. A guard spotted it, first black and thick, rising from the parking structure below the hospital. Within minutes, alarms sounded and staff rushed to evacuate the lower floors. Keanu was already awake. He smelled the smoke before he heard the alarms. His heart skipped. Then he heard her crying. He ran into Emily's room. She was sitting up, her hands over her ears, eyes wide with fear. "What's happening?" she shouted. "Fire alarm," he said, picking her up. "But we're okay. I've got you." The Rock stormed in seconds later. "It's a diversion," he growled. "They want to get someone out or get someone in." Keanu tightened his grip on Emily. "We move now." They took the stairs, not the elevator. It was slower, harder, but safer. The emergency lights flickered. Nurses and patients moved in confusion, some still waiting for instructions. But Keanu and The Rock knew better. On the second floor, they heard gunshots, security guards down, to masked men rushing the hallway with assault rifles. "Go back," one nurse screamed. "They're here." Keanu pressed Emily's face against his chest. "Don't look." The Rock grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall and hurled it at one of the men, knocking him backward. Keanu ducked behind a corner and kicked the other man's knee from the side. Emily didn't cry. Not once. The Rock grabbed one of the radios from the downed attackers. Static. Then a voice. "Target confirmed. Asset is not with the girl. Repeat. Rosa is not with the girl. Fall back until extraction point." Keanu exchanged a look with The Rock. "They're still after Rosa, but they think she's near Emily." The Rock said, "So we still have an edge." They moved quickly to the rooftop. HELIPAD-again. But this time, it was them escaping. A medevac helicopter arrived just in time. A pilot Keanu trusted. A route known only to the 3 of them. As the helicopter lifted off, Keanu held Emily tight, watching the burning parking lot grow smaller beneath them. And he knew they were being pushed into a final corner. They landed in a private safe house hidden in the hills above the city, a place The Rock used when he needed true silence. No phones, no trackers. Just trees and stars. Emily slept peacefully for the first time in days. But Keanu didn't. Neither did The Rock. At 3 a.m., Keanu stepped onto the porch and stared into the dark woods. "This isn't about one girl," he said quietly, "or one agent," The Rock added. "This is about power, silence, secrets they'll kill to keep buried." Keanu turned to him, and were the only ones standing in the way. The Rock looked back. Then we bring the truth to light. 2 days passed, and then a package arrived. No stamps, no return address. Just a black box left near the gate of the property. Inside, a single USB drive, and a note. If you're reading this, then Rosa is gone. But her voice isn't. Play it. Keanu plugged the drive into his old laptop. A video began to play. Rosa's face appeared. She was sitting at a table in a cabin. Calm, composed, tired. If you're seeing this, it means they finally came. They always do. I've hidden the records. The truth about what happened in Qatar. About Project Flamewalk. About the children they experimented on. The trials they covered up. I survived, but many didn't. And now they want to erase everything, including me. Her eyes narrowed. Don't let them. Tell the world. Protect the girl. They think she's just a distraction, but she's more than that. Her father, her real father, worked for them. He tried to expose them. He died for it. She's not just in danger. She's the key. The screen went black. Keanu sat still for a long time. She's more than we knew, he whispered. The Rock leaned back. And now, everyone will want her. They packed that same night. No more hiding. Keanu knew what had to be done. They had to take the truth public. Fast, wide, unstoppable. But not through the news. They needed someone the system couldn't touch. They contacted Zane, a former journalist turned rogue streamer with 10 million followers and a personal hatred for government secrets. When Keanu and The Rock showed him the video, he didn't blink. I'll run it tonight, he said. But they'll come for me. We'll be with you, The Rock said. Keanu nodded. But we need a plan B. Zane smiled. I've got 130 servers around the globe. The moment they try to pull it down, it spreads wider. Keanu exhaled. But the next move would be the hardest. Telling Emily. He sat beside her on the porch, watching the sun rise. Can I ask you something? He said gently. She looked up. Anything. Do you remember your dad? She shook her head. He died when I was little. Mommy doesn't talk about him. He was brave, Keanu said. He tried to tell people the truth, and they hurt him for it. She was quiet. Is that why they hurt me too? Keanu paused. Yes, he said softly. But they didn't win. She leaned her head on his arm. Because you and the big guy came. Because you're strong, he corrected. We just followed your light. And in that quiet moment, the world seemed to slow down. Just before the storm came, the video went live at 6 p.m. and by 6:45, the first drones arrived. Zane's studio exploded in views. Tens of millions. But so did the response. Black trucks, unmarked men, helicopters without IDs. Keanu stood at the window with Emily in his arms. The Rock loaded the last of the gear into the escape vehicle. They're coming, The Rock said. Keanu looked out toward the mountain road. Then let's give them a welcome they'll never forget. Emily looked up at him. Are we going to be okay? Keanu smiled. We're not just going to be okay. He kissed her forehead. We're going to change everything. The reckoning mountain was quiet. To quiet. Keanu stood still, listening. The wind moved through the trees like whispers, brushing past the stone and soil. His hands tightened on the handles of the old off-road vehicle. Emily sat in the back, clutching her teddy bear. Inside the safe house, The Rock adjusted the last of the charges they'd rigged around the property. If they were going to be hunted, then this place would be the trap. How long do we have? Keanu asked. The Rock glanced at the small radio clipped to his belt. For minutes, he said. Maybe less. Keanu nodded. Then we move. He lifted Emily gently, holding her close as they stepped into the forest path behind the safe house leading to a tunnel. Carved decades ago for mining, they had discovered it 2 nights ago. Now it was their only way out. And their only chance. Behind them, the hum of engines grew louder. 6 black SUVs came up the road, kicking dust into the sky. 2 black helicopters hovered just above the trees. The men who stepped out wore no badges, no patches, just precision and silence. The Red Fang had returned. But this time, they weren't here to scare. They were here to erase. From inside the trees. Keanu watched them surround the house. He crouched behind a log with Emily tucked between his arms. The Rock stayed 20 feet behind, covering their rear with a scoped rifle taken from one of the fallen attackers from the hospital. "Wait," Keanu whispered. "Wait for the lead to enter." One man taller than the rest walked toward the door. He kicked it open. A long silence. Then dash, 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 boom. The explosion was thunder across the valley. Fire burst from the windows, sending shards of wood and stone into the air. 3 men were thrown to the ground. The others scattered, shouting, panicking, breaking formation. It was time. Keanu gave the signal. The Rock opened fire, non-lethal shots aimed at knees and shoulders. Just enough to disarm and disable. They weren't here to kill. They were here to expose. Keanu moved through the shadows, fast and quiet. He had already uploaded a second wave of Rose's video to 3 backup channels. Through Zane's servers, copies had been sent to trusted journalists, whistleblower accounts, even the UN. He didn't need to win this fight. He just had to survive it long enough for the truth to spread. But then something went wrong. The taller man, clearly the team's commander, didn't flee. He grabbed one of his men's rifles and shouted toward the trees, "Bring me the girl." Keanu froze. "Now," the man screamed. "Forget the old woman. Forget the safe house. Get the girl." Keanu's blood turned cold. It was never just about Rosa. It was never just about the father. They wanted the child, and now they knew exactly where she was. They chased them through the woods, through the rocks, over fallen branches and silent streams. Keanu ran with Emily in his arms, the Rock behind him, covering every angle. But the enemy was relentless. 4 men came through the west ridge, 2 more through the north hill, each one more focused, more vicious than the last. Keanu tripped. His boot caught in a root. He fell hard, shielding Emily with his arms. Gunfire cracked over his head. He rolled, clutching her, and shouted, "Go, take her." The Rock grabbed Emily, cradled her, and sprinted down the slope as Keanu stayed behind, breathing heavy, gripping a fallen branch like a weapon. 1 man closed in. Keanu waited, then swung. The branch shattered across the man's face, knocking him backward. Another came from the side. Keanu ducked, tackled him, and disarmed him. The third aimed, but never got to shoot. The Rock returned, barreling into him like a wrecking ball, knocking him unconscious with 1 massive punch. "I told you not to get dramatic," he growled. Keanu laughed, panting. "I'm an actor," he said. "What did you expect?" They reached the end of the tunnel. Light. Fresh air. Freedom. Just beyond the trees stood Zane, his van idling, drone cameras flying overhead, capturing everything. "You good?" he asked. "We're alive," Keanu said. "That's enough." He looked back down the tunnel. Sirens approached from the east road, flashing lights weaving through the trees. Finally, the police. The real ones. They had seen the videos, the servers, the evidence. They had no choice now. The truth had ignited something far bigger than a secret task force, that it had awakened a world. The Red Fang was finished. Those who survived were arrested, exposed, documented. Their connections to Black Ops experiments and illegal child research centers laid bare in front of millions. And in the middle of it all was Emily, the girl who smiled through pain. The girl who survived, and unknowingly, the girl who saved countless lives. Weeks passed. Emily's cast came off. Her arm healed. She returned to school, not as a victim but as a symbol of strength. Reporters tried to interview her, but Keanu and the Rock protected her privacy like silent walls. They stayed with her for a while. Then, quietly, they stepped away. Not far, but far enough to give her life back. On the last day, before they left, Keanu gave her a notebook. "What's this?" she asked. "It's yours now," he said. "It's blank. But one day, when you're ready, fill it with your story. You're the only one who can." She hugged him tight. "You're still my hero." He smiled, eyes wet. "No, I was just lucky enough to know one." Months later, a movie studio asked Keanu if he'd like to play himself in a film about the whole thing. He said no. He didn't need a film. He already had the memory. And somewhere in a quiet home, a little girl sat by her window, writing in a notebook, drawing lions with wings and heroes without capes. Because she knew what they looked like now. They looked like people who cared, people who didn't run, people who showed up, even when it was hard.